Well, hello and welcome to this edition of the EV Revolution Show. My name is Kenneth Bokor, your host for episode 78, the show before I go to Fully Charged Live next weekend. Got a few stories that I'm following today, so let me get right into it. Finally got some more information for Ontario residents here in Canada about the extended offers for looking to buy a used EV. Used EV market is heating up as more inventory starts to become available, and Plug and Drive has now offered another program called Scrap the Used Car, basically, Scrappage Incentive Program. And what it means is that you can get another $1,000 for trading in a qualified older ICE vehicle. So you get $1,000 towards that, and plus they also already have an existing program where they give you $1,000 for buying a used electric vehicle. You just have to attend one of their courses here in Toronto, and I believe they do go around and do events and speaks at different places, so you can check their website out or contact them for more details. It's a partnership by Plug and Drive, the Clean Air Partnership, and also a private fund from the M.H. Brigham Foundation. So great, because Ontario doesn't really have any official programs in place. We've just got our national rebate going right now. Some of the other provinces do. So it's good to see that if you're in the market for a used EV, check out Plug and Drive for a couple grand back in your pocket. Now, thanks to a viewer for sending me this link for an EV charging network that has been announced and rolled out in the state of Oklahoma in the United States. It's going to be their first new statewide EV charging network made for just that state. It's a collaboration of various stakeholders, including a company called Francis Renewables. They're laying out 110 charging sites, and they actually should be up and running by now because it was supposed to start at the beginning of 2020. It's one of their most comprehensive fast charging networks in the nation. They've put charging stations, fast charging stations, every 50 miles or so of any geographic location. They'll have a 5G capability so that people waiting there sitting there to charge can have access to Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. So congratulations to the state of Oklahoma and some of the partners that have got involved in putting more fast charging out in these areas that are lacking. Bringing it back home to Canada, Quebecor announced that they plan to go 100% electric by 2024 in the next 4 years. Montreal-based company is also looking to convert a lot of their light trucks from internal combustion to electric engines as well. They are going to spend more than $14 million, according to their estimates, to make this transition to about 200 Videotron vehicles. And then they're also going to purchase electric charging stations for their various locations and upgrade infrastructure in-house, achieving a 100% goal to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by more than 50%. Again, great to see more fleet applications for EVs, especially all-electric EVs, because they really, really have a strong total cost of ownership story, and of course, getting the perks of lowering GHGs. Throw it back over across the pond to the United Kingdom, where a story came out that they have now more than 250,000 of plug-ins on the road in the UK. And over 29,000 charging points. They had registrations for plug-in cars. Now that's not just all electric vehicles, but also plug-in hybrids, of almost 73,000 last year in calendar year 2019, which is their 8th year of consecutive growth, which brought their total plug-in car registrations in the UK to just over 271,000. Great to see this growth. And of course, the number of public charging points increased to more than 29,000. Great to see continued growth in the UK. And I know with further incentives and zero emission mandates and all kinds of other things, congestion charges and things like that, they will continue to see really good uptake in the EV revolution. I promised that I'd follow the Sono Motor story, and I have. They met their funding target after January 20th. In fact, they were successfully able to reach over 53 million euros in that campaign. That came from about 75% of their reservation holders. As far as the monies go, 19% from existing or new investors, and 6% from loans and donations. So it's great to see that they've achieved their funding targets to take them into the next steps, which is a path to bring the Scion into production markets, into production as quickly as possible. Now, with that, they have all this cash and they've completed their community funding. They're going to finance construction of series of prototypes. and set up production. They want to produce a total of about 260,000 Scions over the next 7 to 8 years at the former Saab plant in Trollhättan, Sweden. And the company currently has 13,000 reservations for the Scion and climbing. So congratulations to Sono Motors. I'm really happy that they'll continue to be around and keep monitoring their progress and see how they make out for this year. Some other car news. Jaguar has been spotted with their testing mule. Some spy shots of the all-electric Jaguar XJ is out there. It doesn't say, these are some spy shots you're seeing here. It's supposed to come out sometime this year in 2020, an all-electric version of this. There also will be ICE or internal combustion versions of this as well. It's based on Jaguar's new modular longitudinal, boy, it's a mouthful today, architecture, MLA platform that can support both EV and combustion vehicles, as I've said. They have I don't know where these numbers come from, but it looks like early reports indicate a range of about 292 miles or 470 kilometers of all battery range. And that's basically about it. No other specs other than they're testing some of these mules out there, and they're continuing to see an uptake on that. So great to see Jaguar continue moving forward with their electrification plans. I talked about the MG that's going gangbusters in Europe. Now it's actually starting to be pre-ordered in India, and I mentioned India on a couple of shows that they are, really looking to ramp up electrification and EV adoption and other, vehicular adoption as well. But MG has announced that they're going to be sending their SUV MG ZS, all-electric, nice little sport utility vehicle. And they've actually sold almost 3,000 units now just in about a month, just under a month. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's pretty good for a smaller company like MG is. And so really the uptake has been really, really strong that they're seeing. And this is kind of a sweet spot for the Indian marketplace because you've got a good mix of government subsidies for electric vehicles and infrastructure that are available for consumers. And also this vehicle has decent range and has really good sustainable luxury, as they call it, at an attractive price. And that's the key kicker here. I know that this is a really, really good bargain price for what you get in a vehicle, and especially with the appointments. Excuse me. So great to see that their uptake. Now, they've announced that they're going to tweak this version for India a little bit different. It's going to come out with a 73 kilowatt hour battery pack capacity to get a theoretical range of about 500 kilometers. So we don't know that for sure, but that's what they're planning on. So continue to wait and see, but it looks like this is starting to get some uptake, and I expect to see deliveries in the Indian marketplace later this year. And staying out in the Southeast Asian marketplace and that continent, Sri Lanka, a country you don't really hear much from an electrification standpoint, but there's a company that has been building a concept supercar all-electric vehicle for some time, and they're going to be making more of a splash this year, specifically at the Geneva Motor Show. But it's their first super EV, and it's called the Vega EVX. And no, not this Vega, this Vega. And I've had one of those Vegas before back in the 70s, and that wasn't a pleasant experience. This, I'm sure, is going to be much different. It's interesting. They've got this car. They're building it as a supercar, 540 volt, 40 kilowatt hour pack. They're saying is good enough for about 250 kilometers, 155 mile range. That seems to jive. Fast charging in CHAdeMO and CCS with 120 kilowatts. Just kind of scrolling to some of the specs. Now, they want to get this thing under 3 seconds for a 0 to 100 kilometer time, or 0 to 62 mile per hour time. They got a couple of 300 kilowatt motors that they're outfitting this thing with, which gives a combined torque of combined horsepower of 804, horsepower and torque of about 560 Newton meters, and it could even be more than that depending on how they tweak it. Now, this thing's not going to be cheap. They're advertising about 250,000 United States dollars or USD. So this is going to be for the half of the 1%ers out there, basically. But I think what we can take from this is that we have a country that we would not have thought is in the involvement of electrification, and even building their own vehicles and learning that whole process and understanding what goes into that. This company has never produced an electric vehicle before, and in fact, in the country, they've never done that. They're known more for as a farming type of community and agricultural country. So, it's good to see that they're branching out, looking at different elements, and these guys are playing around with some of the battery chemistries and stuff. So we'll see what happens. But congratulations on this company, and all the best to you, and keep watching. All right, and that's it for this edition of EV Revolution Show, episode 78 here. Thank you very much for sticking with me and watching, and of course, all the feedback and comments that I get on YouTube. I appreciate that. Please continue to send me comments or provide comments, like, unlike it, or dislike if you want to. I always get a few of those, but very happy to see that most people like the content that I'm putting out there, so it's much appreciated to see. Thank you for watching. Always very humbled by my Patreon supporters. Thank you very much. Continue to see information and talk to some of those folks. I know I'll be seeing a couple of people, I believe, down at Fully Charged Austin coming up. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. If you're not sure what it's about, check out my website. If you're interested in helping me out to keep these shows going, even $1 a month is would help me out. So appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, I mentioned Fully Charged. This is the last show before I head down next weekend to Fully Charged USA in Austin, Texas. So I will not be doing a show next week because I'll be busy away for that weekend. I'm flying out a day before and coming back a day after. But it should be an exciting, and then I'll throw that show up in a couple of weeks, the highlights from there. If you are attending, please come by my booth. I've got booth number 300 in the exhibitor hall, and I'll also be roaming around doing filming and interviews and doing all my stuff. Also, I'm on a panel on Saturday. The time is at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's in the Giga Theater, if I've got that right, but you can check out their schedule. It should be coming out, should come out by now, so you can check out the show schedule and get the lay of the land and all that stuff. So look forward to meeting a lot of folks down there. I've got some feedback already from people saying they're going. Look forward to seeing me, and it should be an exciting time for their first blast into the USA marketplace. And I believe that that's probably all I have for this show. I did want to make a correction on the last show that I talked about level 3 fast charging, and I got some comments back on that saying, it's not the right terminology, and I do apologize. You are correct. It's actually, there's 4 forms of charging according to the J1772 version 2017 charging standards. AC level 1 is up to 1.92 kilowatts, so that's really slow trickle charging for some of the older vehicles. AC level 2 is up to 19.2 kilowatts, so that covers pretty well the broad spectrum of most of the level 2 charging out there that you'll find in your garage or in destination chargers or things like that. Most vehicles don't go past that. And then you've got your DC fast charging. You've got level 1 and level 2 of those, level 1 being up to 48 kilowatts. So most now are accepting 50 kilowatts or higher from a vehicular perspective. And then you've got DC level 2 up to 400 kilowatts, which is the ultra fast now standards that are coming out with vehicles like Tesla and others that are going up to 350 or so kilowatts. So thank you very much for people who corrected me on that. Always open to suggestions and letting me know if I goof and say something wrong. I want to make sure I get all my information straight because I learn by you guys. So thank you very much for that. And again, that's it for the show. So thanks very much for watching. Everybody stay safe, and thank you for tuning in. And I hope to see a lot of you Fully Charged. And until the next show, I'll see you when I see you. Take care. Bye-bye.